What if the thing everyone envies about you is actually the thing quietly destroying you from the inside? We celebrate intelligence like it's a golden ticket. Better grades, better career, better life, right? But what nobody tells you is that a powerful mind doesn't just solve problems, it creates them. And some of the loneliest, most anxious, most emotionally exhausted people you'll ever meet are the ones everyone assumes have it all figured out. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 8 hidden battles that highly intelligent people fight every single day. Battles most of the world doesn't even know exist. And number 6, it might explain a pattern you've noticed in yourself but never had a name for. 1. Your brain has no off switch. Let's start with the one that affects everything else. Imagine your mind as a browser with 400 tabs open, and every single one of them is loading simultaneously. That's what daily life feels like when your brain refuses to stop processing. You don't just think about a conversation, you just think about a conversation you had. You dissect the tone, the word choice, the micro-expression that flickered across someone's face for half a second. You reconstruct what they might have meant versus what they actually said. And then, you build 17 possible scenarios of what could happen next. Most people hear a comment and move on. You hear a comment and conduct a full forensic investigation. Psychologists have a term for this: analysis paralysis. It's the cruel irony where having more mental horsepower actually makes simple decisions harder. What should I eat for dinner becomes a 20-minute internal debate weighing nutrition, cost, time, and whether your last 3 meals were balanced enough. Your intelligence doesn't just help you think, it forces you to think, and there's no volume knob. 2. Small talk feels like suffocation. Now here's where things get socially complicated, and honestly, this is the one most intelligent people secretly struggle with the most. You're at a gathering. Someone starts talking about the weather or last night's reality show, and inside your chest, something just deflates. It's not that you think you're better than anyone. It's that your brain is literally starving. You want to talk about why humans fear death, or how economic systems shape morality, or what consciousness actually is. But the moment you steer a conversation even slightly deeper, you see it. That glazed look. That polite smile that says, "Okay, this is getting weird." Here's what psychology reveals about this. Intelligent people don't just prefer deep conversation. They actually need it. Research on intellectual giftedness shows that meaningful dialogue activates reward centers in the brain the same way physical exercise releases endorphins for athletes. Without it, you feel drained rather than energized by social interaction. So you're surrounded by people but starving for connection. And the loneliest version of loneliness? It's being in a crowded room and realizing nobody there speaks your language. But hold that thought, because the next struggle makes this one even worse. 3. You see what everyone else misses. Your brain doesn't just think more, it notices more. Patterns in behavior, contradictions in what people say versus what they do, the slight shift in someone's energy when they're hiding something. Most people walk through life with a standard definition view. You're operating in ultra-high resolution, and you can't turn it down. On the surface, this sounds like a superpower, and sometimes it is, but here's the cost nobody talks about. You catch every lie. You sense every fake smile. You detect manipulation before it even fully forms. And once you see these things, you can't unsee them. It's like being the only person in a theater who notices the strings on the puppets. Everyone else is enjoying the show. You're sitting there watching the mechanics behind the illusion, and it robs the magic from almost everything. Psychologists connect this to something called hypervigilance in cognitive processing. Your pattern recognition systems are so advanced that they run constantly in the background, scanning for threats, inconsistencies, and hidden information. It's mentally exhausting. Your brain is doing security detail 24 hours a day, and it never clocks out. 4. Boredom hits you like a freight train. Now let's talk about something people completely misunderstand about intelligence. When a highly intelligent person loses motivation, gets distracted, or procrastinates, the world calls them lazy. But here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Your brain operates on a higher threshold for stimulation. Think of it like this. If most people's minds run on regular fuel, yours requires rocket propellant. Routine tasks, repetitive work, predictable conversations, They don't just bore you, they physically drain you. Your brain interprets the absence of challenge the same way your body interprets the absence of sleep. It shuts down. This is why many gifted students actually underperform in school. It's not a lack of ability, it's a lack of complexity. The material isn't hard enough to activate their engagement systems, so their attention literally wanders off looking for something more stimulating. And here's the painful part. You know you should be doing the task. You know it's important, but your brain won't cooperate because it's screaming for something that actually makes it work. So you sit there, paralyzed between what you need to do and what your mind needs to function. From the outside, it looks like laziness. From the inside, it feels like being trapped in a car with a powerful engine but nowhere to drive. 5. The weight of everyone's expectations. This one builds slowly, and by the time you recognize it, the damage is already deep. When people identify you as intelligent, something shifts. Suddenly, perfection becomes your baseline. You don't get celebrated for doing well, you get expected to do well. And the moment you stumble, the reaction isn't sympathy, it's confusion. Or worse, disappointment. But I thought you were the smart one. That single sentence carries more psychological weight than most people realize. It teaches your brain that your value is conditional, that love, respect, and acceptance are tied directly to your performance. And once that belief takes root, every situation becomes a test you cannot afford to fail. Psychologists identify this as a breeding ground for imposter syndrome, the persistent feeling that you're secretly not as capable as everyone believes, and that any day now, you'll be exposed. Studies show that imposter syndrome disproportionately affects high-achieving, intelligent individuals. The smarter you are, the more clearly you see your own gaps, and the more convinced you become that everyone else is somehow doing better. So you push harder, work longer, say yes to everything, not because you want to, but because the alternative, letting people see you struggle, feels like the end of your identity. And that leads directly into the next point. 6. Perfectionism is eating you alive. Remember when I said number 6 might explain a pattern you've noticed in yourself? Here it is. There's a difference between wanting to do well and needing everything to be flawless. Healthy striving pushes you forward, but what psychology calls maladaptive perfectionism, that pulls you apart. You set a standard, you work toward it, you get close, and then your brain says, not good enough. So you revise, redo, restart. Sometimes you never finish at all, because completing something means exposing it to judgment, and nothing ever feels ready. Here's the hidden mechanism. For intelligent minds, perfectionism isn't really about the work, it's about control. If you can make something perfect, then no one can criticize it. No one can find the flaw, and you stay safe inside the identity everyone built for you. But the trap is vicious, because perfection doesn't exist. So you're chasing a finish line that moves every time you get close. The result? Chronic burnout, unfinished projects, a graveyard of brilliant ideas that never saw the light of day because they weren't perfect enough to release. And the cruelest part? Other people with half your ability publish, ship, and share their work freely, while you sit there, paralyzed by standards no human could actually meet. 7. You question everything, including yourself. Most people accept the world as it's presented to them. Rules are rules. Traditions are traditions. That's just how things are. Your brain doesn't do that. You question authority. You challenge assumptions. You pull at the threads of beliefs that everyone else treats as sacred. And yes, this is the engine behind innovation, discovery, and every major breakthrough in human history. But here's the shadow side nobody celebrates. When you're wired to question everything externally, that lens eventually turns inward. You start questioning your own decisions, your own beliefs, your own identity. Why do I think this? Is this really what I believe? Or was I conditioned to believe it? Am I living authentically? Or am I performing a version of myself that others expect? This kind of existential self-examination can spiral into what psychologists call an existential crisis of meaning. You zoom out so far from normal life that everyday activities start feeling absurd. Going to work, paying bills, following social scripts, it all starts to feel like a game everyone agreed to play. and you're the only one who read the rule book and found it arbitrary. The people around you want simple answers. You can't stop seeing the complexity. And that gap between how you experience reality and how everyone else seems to? It's isolating in a way that's hard to put into words. 8. You carry emotions that aren't even yours. Let's end with the struggle that might be the heaviest of all. Highly intelligent people tend to score exceptionally high in empathy. And not just the "I feel sorry for you" kind. We're talking about deep cognitive empathy, the ability to mentally step inside another person's experience and feel it as if it were your own. When your friend is going through heartbreak, you don't just understand their pain, you absorb it. When you watch the news, you don't just process information, you feel the weight of human suffering pressing against your chest. When someone in the room is quietly struggling, you sense it before they say a word, and suddenly, their heaviness becomes yours. Psychologists call this emotional contagion. Your mirror neuron systems are so finely tuned that they pick up and replicate the emotional states of people around you, often without your conscious awareness. You walk into a room feeling fine and leave feeling anxious, and you don't even know why. Over time, this creates a kind of emotional accumulation, layer after layer of other people's grief, frustration, and fear settling onto your shoulders. And because you're intelligent enough to understand why people suffer, you can't simply dismiss it. You carry it, you process it, and sometimes you drown in it. The world sees someone who's strong, composed, and capable. What they don't see is someone who goes home and collapses under the invisible weight of emotions that were never theirs to carry. So here's the truth that nobody frames this way. Intelligence isn't a cheat code for life. It's a different operating system entirely, one that processes deeper, feels harder, and sees further than it was probably designed to. And the struggles that come with it aren't weaknesses. They're the natural side effects of a mind that refuses to operate on the surface. If anything in this video made you pause and think, "That's me," I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not too intense. You are not too much. You're simply running software that most people don't have the hardware to understand. The key isn't to silence your mind. It's to learn how to direct it. Build boundaries around your empathy. Find the rare people who match your depth. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Your mind is not your enemy. It just needs someone who finally understands how to work with it instead of against it. If this hit home, drop a comment telling me which struggle resonated most. I read every single one. Hit subscribe if you want more content that actually gets how your brain works. And if someone in your life needs to hear this today, send it to them. I'll see you in the next one.